Salespeople have a term and it's called ABC, always be closing. And I actually want to change that term. I think we have a new one now that we should be substituting for ABC. Instead of always be closing, always be interviewing. The new acronym is ABI. Always be interviewing. And you know why? Is because we are now in a new era, and that's the era of the forever layoffs. So if you didn't know, Verizon Wireless now it's their turn in the spotlight with the largest ever layoff at Verizon Wireless. They're going to lay off 15% of their workforce and they're citing cost cutting. Whatever, who cares? It's becoming an old story. The layoffs are never going to stop. Something you got to get used to. You got to get your head around it. We're going to talk about it today. All right, let's roll. So, it's kind of funny. I got a kick out of it. One of my viewers, I had posted a video about being in demand at age 55 in tech and the fact that I can, pretty much always land on my feet, even if I do get laid off. And I'll post it here, but the comment under my video was, wow, this woman looks profoundly stressed out and terribly unhappy. And, I think it's actually kind of funny. Like I'm sitting there trying to say, hey, you want a sales job? Don't you want to end up just like me? Totally stressed out. At least I'm employed. Woohoo. There's a reason why a lot of us are feeling that way. And here are the three reasons why. The first reason is we are in forever layoffs. Corporate America has crossed the Rubicon. What does that exactly mean? It means that forever layoffs really mean two things. First, it means there's like corporate America, it's a business model now. So, what they're doing in order to not get the headlines is they're doing these softer layoffs, and it's just a smaller number of people. Maybe it's 50 or a couple hundred people every quarter. They want to get under the radar. They don't want the publicity. They don't want to look like they're struggling. Why are you having all these layoffs? Blah, blah, blah. So they'll just lay off every quarter, smaller numbers of people. Now, what we've seen in the last couple of months, definitely this past fall and this past October, was like the largest, you know, uh, job loss in since I think like in 22 years. And you can check out one of my other videos. I think the last video I was talking about that, but we're seeing these enormous layoffs too. So yeah, I'm stressed out. I'm worried about, making my number. I'm worried about the next quarter because corporate America has no loyalty anymore and they get rewarded no matter what they do. If they're not making, if their stock is tanking, they're going to lay people off. If they're not making, they don't have good report to Wall Street, they're going to lay people off. But if it's cost cutting to move in AI, they're going to lay off people too. I talked about that in my last video. Amazon's never made more money, yet they're laying a lot of people off. So it really doesn't matter. There's no stability, there's no loyalty, and there's really nothing for you to hang on to in your job in corporate America. I know that's harsh, but that's just the bottom line. That tends to stress people out, to my viewer, which I got a kick out of. I thought it was actually quite funny, but that'll tend to stress you out. The other reason why, I mean, so we've crossed the Rubicon. No loyalty, just be on your toes, head on a swivel. Things are just they're temporary at best. Even if you have the greatest job ever, a great job and you're highly skilled, high performer. That's just the way it is. Second reason is I see this a lot, and it's what concerns me, and I bet a lot of you see this too, is that senior leadership, at least in the tech sector and what I've seen, are constantly changing direction. So they don't really have a lot of focus on anything, and they're throwing a lot of impossible goals, at least to the sales force. I can speak to the sales team. They're throwing a lot of unachievable expectations at you. They're even pulling people who are not traditionally in this sales organization and making them, answer to, hey, where's that deal? Did you help out? How can we bring in numbers for the third quarter and all this kind of stuff? But there's chaos at the top. So, the leaders, they don't exactly have it all together either. And I can see that some of them, not the people like me at the lower level or mid level, but middle level managers and even just a step up from that, they're very nervous too. And so they're always changing direction. And I mean, it's newsflash for you. It's very difficult to go to market and solicit new business when you don't really know if you're going to have the support of your organization. You don't have good messaging and all of those things. So that's pretty stressful too. Just a constant changing in direction. Another thing that, really does factor in, and I'm telling you this from my own personal experience, is that because you always have to be interviewing, not only what I'm striving for, and I think a lot of people that I talk to and a lot of you guys are probably trying to do this too, but we need to perform at the jobs that we have. But we also need to interview. Well, the whole interview kind of, situation, that's quite stressful too. Interviews are becoming more and more demanding, more and more cutthroat. I mean, there was a time and a day when you could kind of blow an interview and the hiring team would see the winner behind maybe a mistake that you made in answering a question. They would see you and give you a chance, take a bet on you. I really don't feel like that happens anymore. I don't know how they make their hiring decisions, to be honest with you. There's many people that tell stories about, perfect interviews and great preparation and a good synergy with the hiring team and all that kind of stuff. Yet they get ghosted or the position is pulled or put on hold, or they hire somebody. Another thing is they want to hire people for less money. So if you're senior level, you've been a high performer, you could very well have to take a salary, reduction in order to stay employed. So if you're like me, 55, and what about us, Gen Xers at 55? I mean, we want to bridge the gap from right now to when we can retire, which is probably 7, 10 years for some of us. And, getting laid off like this quarter, I'm thinking, okay, I'll probably be fine through January. But in April, I don't know, I might get cut in April. I really has nothing to do with me or could have something to do with me. I don't know, but that's the way employees are thinking now. And to have the pressure of interviewing on top of it, not only it's just cutthroat, the interview to get an interview and all of that, but a lot of times the preparation that you have to do in the interview process. Many interviews are 4 to 6 to, I've heard 8 and 10 different steps on the road to an offer. So as an example, you're going to meet with a teammate, you'll meet with the hiring manager, you'll meet with your manager, you might have to do a panel interview, maybe you have to do a presentation. All of that stuff you have to do while you're also working the job that is stressing you out to begin with because you're worried about losing it. Because corporate America doesn't care. And that's very, very true. And that's what we're seeing. So yeah, another reason why I may have looked kind of stressed out. And now the third reason is obviously the influence of AI. People are just really not understanding, and this is a new threat. This is just totally new, something that we have not seen before, and people are breaking. So I'll give you an example. This happened just this week at work, but I really do feel like people, the stress and the anxiety of all of this stuff that is just the instability and then the threat of AI on top of it is breaking people. So I've got a coworker, I was speaking with her earlier this week. She's actually got a pretty good deal going. We had an AI workshop this week where we had to talk about, different ways and use cases for AI and things like that. So it's looming out there and you can feel the stress. Anyway, she's working on a deal. It looks like it's a promising deal, all of that. But she really was sharing with me about during the RFP process, she's crying in meetings and she's breaking. And we see a lot of people breaking, just at least I am seeing it. In one of my other videos I did last week, we had a guy that was, no, I talked about in men's groups, support groups for men now. People need reassurance and they need relief. And I think a lot of us are not getting it. Anyway, I did some videos on it. You might want to, if you're interested in more, check out this video. I'll see you guys next time.